everybody. My name is Madlyn Medlock, and I am a pre-screener for Tallgrass. And today I am joined with the lovely Camrus Johnson, who is the filmmaker for She Dreams at Sunrise. Welcome, Camrus. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm good as well. Thank you. So let's jump right into it.
Okay.
Your artistic portfolio is quite large, going from acting to filmmaking to singing and even like comic book writing at this point, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So what is it that draws you to filmmaking, or more so the animated filmmaking?
It's a good question. So I mean, it's just storytelling in general. I feel like the most beautiful thing about my job is that I get to tell stories. And also, I don't think that many, I mean, I shouldn't say I don't think that many artists realize this, but I don't think that many non-artists realize that our jobs are really to connect people close, like more to the world. So when it comes to telling stories, all we're trying to do is remind people what's happening, remind people how to feel, remind people what to feel, remind people what's going on around them. So that's my favorite part is when I show a story that just gets somebody thinking and it makes them change something in their lives for the better. So for Grab My Hand, for example, which is my first animated short, it was a 5-minute short that made people start calling their families more, which is amazing because in 5 minutes they go, oh, you know what? This story about, your dad and your uncle calling each other every morning made me realize that I haven't talked to my dad or my uncle or my best friend in quite some time. So there are people now that just call each other and say gate check, just like in my animated short, because it taught them something. It either taught them or reminded them of something very important. So that's my favorite part of all of my jobs when it comes to music, comic books, all of it. It's some sort of reminder or some sort of connection to something beautiful.
That's great. Your stories are always tearjerkers, I have to say, all of them.
Appreciate it.
Where did you get the idea for She Dreams at Sunrise? What inspired it?
So She Dreams at Sunrise is actually loosely based off of true events. So She Dreams at Sunrise is about an elderly woman who has reached that point of her life where she's doesn't find much joy anymore. So she escapes her reality with her dreams. And through her dreams, she finds the joy that she used to have and the happiness that she wishes that she still had. So it's about this character, this older woman, but it's also about the younger man that takes care of her. And that's based off of me and my great aunt. So when I was 17 to 20, I was my great aunt's caretaker. And eventually she got sick and she got meningitis. So she started hallucinating. So she dreams at sunrise is sort of like the nicer version, like the nicer twist on that, where in the short, she just dreams about a happier reality. But in real life, she would actually hallucinate and see a different reality. She would sometimes it'd be dark and sometimes it wouldn't. But there was one day where I remember I just watched her play with kids in her mind. It was at sunrise, which is where the title of the film comes. But it was at sunrise. I woke up, and when I came into the room, this beautiful orange light was hitting her from the outside, and she was laughing and giggling as if there were 4 kids. And she was like, "Oh, share, give me that, and give that to him." And she was talking to these 4 kids that weren't really there. So it was really interesting to see her live in this world of joy. And then whenever the hallucination came back, she was just like, "Man, I wish I wasn't sick. Like, I wish this would just go away already." So to see the juxtaposition, like the difference between those two worlds that she was constantly having to jump in between. But at least in She Dreams at Sunrise, she kind of has a choice. Like when she goes to sleep, she's like, I'm going to enter this world. So yeah, it was kind of a take on that. It was finding a way to bring the beauty out of a darker situation, because in that dark situation, there was beauty in it, like that story I just told you. And also my aunt and her daughter, they were estranged. So the entire time that I was a caretaker, I wanted to connect them, but I never could. So this is sort of like my what if story in a way.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I very much related to it. I caretake for my dad for
Oh,
years.
wow.
I have, yeah. So I very much related to it. Um, and it is a very emotional story. The way that the music goes in and out is very emotional. Um, it is very little in dialogue. So what were the challenges in conveying that much emotion without much dialogue?
Oh man, so many challenges. Well, it's funny because I think some of my favorite, maybe all of my favorite animated shorts don't have dialogue. I shouldn't say all because I have so many, but Alike is one of my favorite animated shorts, and Borrowed Time is one of my favorite animated shorts. So oftentimes, animated shorts don't have dialogue just because it's harder. It just takes more time and more money um, to sync the dialogue and to hire the actors and everything. So my plan was to already go into this project like with some sort of story that didn't have a lot of dialogue,
Mhm.
but we also didn't have much time. We had about 10 weeks to make this short film,
Wow.
which for anyone that works in animation, even if you don't work in animation, you know that's crazy. That is near impossible. And it's so wonderful to me, not only that we finished it, but also that people like it. And for people like you to connect to it. And it just means a lot because just getting the project finished was
Mhm.
it was we were kind of close. So having too much dialogue was never really an option for this because it
Mhm.
just would have made it a whole thing to sync the characters' mouths and whatnot. So yeah, so I was really excited to have a project that was pretty much all music based. And I don't, you know that app Clubhouse by any chance?
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, yeah, Clubhouse came out like during COVID, I believe, and it's basically like a uh, how do you it's like a podcast that you can participate in.
Oh,
So
okay.
like yeah, so you can't see anybody, but you can hear everyone, and sometimes you can jump on stage and whatnot. Anyway, I was in Clubhouse for like a week, and in that week, I became friends with a Black composer, and I was like, I don't know any Black composers, and I listened to his music and was like, dude, I have a project coming up soon, and if it gets the green light, I need you on it. And as soon as I got this project greenlit, I got Stefano Smith on, and he is just a musical genius, in my opinion. So working with him was very awesome because I find that I know what I want with music, but I can't always explain it.
Mhm.
So he just told me to find a bunch of songs that I enjoyed, and I just found a bunch, and I'd be like, I don't know why, but this section, like sometimes I literally say like this sound on this second is nice. I don't know why or what it is or where
Mhm.
to put it, but here you go, just take it all. And he like put it all together and mixed it into this beautiful piece. And he used this orchestra in Budapest to record the music for the short. It was just like he's a musical genius, and the film would not be what it is if it weren't for strong music. So I'm really glad that you brought that up because he deserves all the flowers and all the love.
The music really does carry the whole short.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
because
I
the
feel
music
like
in the short is the
even
dialogue.
yes. I feel like even if you weren't watching the film, if you just heard the music, you could almost, like, hear the story almost,
Yeah, absolutely.
which is
Yeah, because
really cool.
that's one challenge that I gave him in the very beginning. I was like, in this film, since we don't speak a lot, the music is what we're saying. So you have to tell us what we're saying and what we're feeling.
Mhm.
You have to explain the story without saying anything. So
Mhm.
all the sounds that you make are all vitally important. Sometimes it's just story, but sometimes it's actually mixing with exactly what we're seeing on camera. So he had this huge challenge and he had very little time to do it because we had all this animation to do. And by the time I think that we were actually with the orchestra recording the music, the short wasn't even finished yet. It was like locked in place, but it didn't look like the color and everything wasn't really there. So we kind of had to have the music and the animation constantly inspiring one another because neither of them ever heard each other finished until the very end, which was very interesting.
Wow. That is really interesting.
Yeah.
And it just comes together so beautifully. And
Thanks.
with that very little dialogue, it is a star-studded cast, though. How did that come about?
It is, which is funny. Yeah, so my two stars are Candace Patton from The Flash and Ozzy Tesfaye from Supergirl and Jane the Virgin. And yeah, I mean, it's funny because with a film like this, with like the team that I had behind it, and everyone loves animation, I feel like there's many people that I probably could have gotten in the short, which was exciting,
Mhm.
but I thought it'd be even more exciting if it was friends of mine. So Candace and Ozzy are very close. They're like sisters at this point. We have like a group text that we are texting in all the time. We're on like these superhero Arrowverse CW shows, so we all got very close. And I also started Black Game Night last year because here in Vancouver, Canada, there aren't very many Black people.
Mhm.
So I started these game nights so we could have some sort of like fun Black community, and they're at every single one. The only one they haven't been to is the one that I had last night. um, But yeah, they're like family. So when I brought it up, I was like, hey, I'm doing this thing and I don't know. And they were just like, hey, whatever you're talking about, we're in. We don't care. Just whatever it is, we'll do it. And I was like, cool. So yeah, they came over and we recorded it in my little voiceover closet. And it was great. They did such a great job on it. So yeah, I hope I get to work with them on something else in the future.
That's awesome. Everyone needs friends like that. And the
Right.
fact that it was recorded in a closet, that's crazy too.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. It turned out so
I
well.
thank you. Yeah, I needed some kind of booth, and like I have like foam all over the walls. I have this really nice mic, and I have an interface. I'm no professional sound engineer or anything, but I thankfully had like sound people that could clean it up. But yeah, it was funny. I had Candace in my closet with the door closed, and I was just outside of it. Like, and she was like, "How am I?" I was like, "You're killing it."
That's great. So my next question for you might be a loaded question for you. What are
Okay.
you most proud of with this film?
Oh wow, what am I most proud of? Um, what am I most proud of? Oh, I like that question. There's so many things to be proud of from this film. I mean, not to be too sappy, but I'm just most proud of my team. Like I'm most proud of like my whole team. They really showed up when it comes to making a film of any sort, but especially one with a deadline like this.
Mhm.
And we didn't have like the greatest animation budget. Like we were on a tight budget. I'm so proud of my team for every day. I mean, like 7 days a week, like working. And we had animators from all around the world. So my animation director was, we're waking up at 6 a.m. to talk to this animator, and they're going to sleep. We're waking up at 9 to talk to this animator. And he was doing that all day because we'd have a meeting at, 11 p.m. You're like, cool. All right, I gotta hop off because I have a meeting at 12:30 with this person in London, because there was somebody everywhere, South Africa and Germany or whatever. So my team put in so much extra time and effort in this project, and it would not be what it is without them. And I guess the proudest thing I am of myself for this is not only did I solidify like my confidence in directing a bit with this project, because this is my first time having like a full team
Mhm.
look at me and say, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Oh, it was fun because like when things got stressful, I was never stressed. I was like, "We got this." Like I feel like this team is so great. Whenever they're like, "We're not gonna make it," I was like, "We'll be fine." And sometimes they were like, sometimes they would get like, I could feel them just like, "No, you don't get it." And I was like, "No, I get it. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. Relax. We got it." So that's one thing I'm most proud of myself with. And also, there's this thing called acting references. And for animation, acting references just means like if you want to see what this character is going to do, I have to be on camera and show you the physicality of the character. But we didn't have the money to hire anyone to do the acting references.
Mhm.
And since I'm an actor, they just asked me if I could do it. So I set up a camera and I shot every frame of this film. So every moment that you see in She Dreams at Sunrise, from standing up to sitting down to eating breakfast, like everything that you've seen, there is a shot of me on camera, live action, doing the same thing, which I'm very proud of because when I watch the film, it's like, wow, that's me. Like
Yeah.
they just animated me. And then my animators who took that reference and often did it exactly the way that I did it was mind blowing to the point where like you want to be like, did you somehow trace it? Like, how did you do that? But
Mhm.
of course, if you tell an animator, like if you ask if they traced it, they'd be like, heck, who do you think? No, how dare you? Yeah, they're geniuses. So yeah, there's so many things to be proud of, but I guess I just gave you like four answers, but,
That's
that's
okay.
a lot of them.
It's okay. It's like you can give me a list if it's not one. It's a great answer. How does this film differ from any of the other films you've done? Or was there much of a difference in how the creative process went about?
I think well, I mean, funny enough, out of all three of my films, it's the only one that I haven't co-directed, which I just realized right now. Because yeah, Grab My Hand, I co-directed with my animator, and then Blue Bison, I co-directed with my friend Stefano, and
Mhm.
this is the first one I've directed by myself. I had an animation director, of course, because for animated projects you need to have the animation guy taking care of things. but yeah, it was the first time that I directed. It was also the biggest budget that I've directed on so far, which was very cool. It was my first time working with an orchestra instead of a single composer, because in the last two shorts, it was one composer that did everything. This was, I think like a 30-piece orchestra or something, which was crazy. And but then we had something between 15 and 25 animators. And it was my first time doing a project on this scale.
Mhm.
Um, and oh no, okay, I was gonna say the first time directing on Zoom, but that's actually my second time doing that. I directed a music video on Zoom over COVID last year. So yeah, I guess like it's just the biggest thing that I've done. But like how it differs from my other projects, I mean, it's similar to Grab My Hand in a way where it is based on something personal to me and family related. And I think while making this, it actually made me realize that I really enjoy working on personal family pieces. So I now have a couple feature ideas that I want to make that are also family oriented that I'm super excited about. But yeah, I guess that's the biggest thing is like the budget and the team, the size of it. The size of it was very different.
Well, hinting at things to come is my final question for you. What can we see from you in the future? What can we look forward to seeing?
Well, let's see. So Batwoman season 3 just premiered this week. So it comes out on Wednesdays at 9 on CW. Check it out. That just came out. I might do one more animated short with these really awesome guys that I'm a big fan of. So we're talking about the possibilities of that. I do have a horror movie in development. I do have an animated series in development. I am recording an EP right now. So hopefully that'll be out no later than March or so. Besides that, I mean, I feel like I always got something going on. Oh, I have a comic book coming out next summer called Tower that just got announced that I'm very excited about. Shout out to Sci-Fi Wire for announcing that. That's really exciting. But yeah, that's pretty much all the stuff that I'm doing. So keep an eye out.
We will. You are a busy man.
Try to be.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy life to come chat with us. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and I hope you enjoy the fest.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much.
much. Thanks for having me. Enjoy the film.